I just think there's like a myriad of ways to describe both gender and sexuality. I don't know, I like the use of labels and the new terminology that's come about, so such as things such as like non-binary and things such as like genderqueer, and you can be like third gender as well. Like there's so many different ways to describe gender and so many different ways to describe sexuality.
Even though like I'm comfortable saying I'm transgender, like I'm not very comfortable like identifying myself, like because I don't really know, like I don't know what my identity is. So I think access to those terms is important more than actually identifying yourself.
I had the impression, talking sometimes to younger gay friends, that they're not very worried about identifying themselves. They go with the flow.
Because you can go two ways with this. There is a genuine, I don't really know where I am on the spectrum, so I don't see the point in limiting myself to a specific identity. I get that.
Yeah.
But then you do get people who have internalized hatred or are purposefully not labeling themselves because they are aware of the backlash that comes with that label,
sure.
You know? So they disguise it as, I don't want to put a label on it, you know, we're all free, we're all equal, which isn't true. The reason why I find it important to place, if it's someone who is sure of themselves at the moment, in certain respects, I think it's very important for me to acknowledge my identity.
Perhaps it's because we are forced to accept a label. I mean, the labels are put on us from outside.
Exactly.
In a way, our identity is so much more varied than our sexual or gender position. You know, there's so much more to us in terms of where we fit and who we are.
I think spiritual gets mixed up with religion.
Yeah, I guess
You
so.
know, I consider myself spiritual, but I don't belong to anything. I'm afraid to belong to anything. I don't want to.
But what about Buddhism?
Well, I go to a Buddhist Sangha because I like it. I like the teachings. I like to meditate with other people.
What you're saying is incredibly like how I felt. I grew up in a very heteronormative environment, and my models were definitely heterosexual relationships.
I had this guy who came up to me, you know, he just comes up and starts asking, "Are you a man?" I thought, well, no, I used to be, but I'm better now. Go away. And then he starts asking me questions about my genitals. Yeah. And he's like, you kind of have to take a double take because you think, sorry, and he's like, he says, "Can you still get erections then?" And I said, well, after sort of 4 years of hormones kind of thing, you've got more like raising the Titanic. You know, well, that's the way to leave them.
My generation grew up with a lot of prejudice, including our own internalized homophobia.
That's true.
You know, that takes years to erode, really, because just it wasn't okay to be lesbian. So we didn't have the word gay, but we had secret language, and only we knew what it meant. So I guess the new generation has taken on a whole load of language to identify themselves and be proud of it, whereas ours was rather closeted and secretive, you know, like Polari, for example.
Certainly when you get into sort of the gender fluid variant thing, they just seem to be changing with remarkable rapidity after years of them never being anything more than about sort of 2 or 3 terms. I just identify as me, really, and the thing that I have since I transitioned is I have a much stronger sense of self. I know who I am because I know what it's like living as who I'm not. And from that, I then don't tend to really worry about the kind of labels attached to it. I feel secure within myself not to really worry about the labels. I tend to use various labels according to what I'm doing more than that simply because I'm trying to convey something.
What do you call yourself?
I would say it's difficult. Sometimes I would say female, sometimes like genderqueer or something. But I mean, genderqueer to me just means like a state of change, if that makes sense.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's what it means generally, or just...
Yeah, I think it does
Genderqueer.
mean, yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
Yeah,
I suppose I'm genderqueer.
maybe you are as well.